Everyone, give me just a couple of moments here and we'll get started. Thanks for joining.
Hi, everyone. I just want to check. Can you hear me okay? Okay. Thanks so much for taking some time this afternoon to learn a little bit more about Olympic Community of Health's most recent funding opportunity. We are here today to talk about our funding opportunity to expand and enhance access to social care. If I haven't had the pleasure of meeting you, my name is Celeste Schoenthaler, and I'm the Executive Director here at Olympic Community of Health. If you'd like to introduce yourself, please do so in the chat. I think we want to use the majority of today's time to review the funding opportunity and hear the questions that you have. And I will post the link here, and hopefully you've got that handy. I'm at working at home today, and I'm got my fingers crossed that my dogs stay nice and quiet and sound asleep. But I will mute myself if somebody drives by or something like that. So the plan for this time today is I will briefly review the funding opportunity and the associated materials and documents. And really, the majority of the time this afternoon is to hear your questions. And you can raise your hand and ask questions verbally, or you can post questions in the chat. And I will do my best to respond to as many questions as possible today. And if we aren't able to answer every question, please know that we are recording today's session, and both the link to the session will be posted on our frequently asked questions document, and we will fully respond to all questions in that FAQ as well. So it's just possible you're going to ask some questions that I hadn't thought about, and we might just need a little bit of time. And our FAQ document will be updated by the end of the day on Thursday, so you can check back then. Let's see. After today, if you have questions about our funding opportunity, we ask that you send an email to connect@olympicch.org. I know many partners are very used to being able to reach out personally and set time to talk on the phone or meet with members of our team in person. And unfortunately, because this is a competitive funding opportunity and we just don't have the capacity to meet with everyone, so we are asking that all follow-up questions come through our email box. We check that throughout the day and are pretty responsive, so we'll get your question answered. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and get started and walk through our funding opportunity. So as I mentioned, the opportunity that we're talking about today is our opportunity to expand and enhance access to social care. And I know many partners responded recently to the opportunity that closed last week, which was to identify regional care coordination partners. And this opportunity really looks at the other side. So I'll pull up the overview document, which is here. This is the overview and instructions. So this is really the other side. So our funding opportunity last month was about identifying those partners who will hire and support members of the community-based workforce to provide care coordination and case management for clients to address social needs. And this is the other side of the coin. This is looking at ensuring that when those workers are out meeting with community members who have needs related to social conditions, that we can grow, enhance, and in some cases, establish services and resources to address those social needs. So you can read a little bit about our funding purpose and overview. For those who don't know about our organization, we are a nonprofit that serves the 3 counties of Clallam, Jefferson, and Kitsap. And our goal is to improve individual and population health and advance equity by addressing the social determinants of health. And many of you know that we are in process of building out a new service called Olympic Connect. And Olympic Connect is expected to launch in early 2025. Olympic Connect is a community care hub or a community-centered entity that supports a network of partners providing services and resources to address social needs. It centralizes administrative functions and infrastructure and has relationships with and understands the capacities of local organizations and other health-serving partners. Olympic Connect will aim to add value throughout the region by creating a more coordinated, systemic, and data-driven approach to how we address social needs like housing, financial strain, access to healthy, affordable food, access to the full spectrum of care, transportation, and more. And we have a blog post here where you can learn more about Olympic Connect, and we've got some other resources that you might have seen. Through this funding opportunity, we have narrowed down all of the social needs that we see in this region to a list of 5. And that is because we aim to have more depth in our work so that we can have a greater impact. And perhaps down the road, we will offer other funding opportunities that look at other social needs. So for this opportunity, we are asking partners to tell us how you would grow, enhance, and expand resources and services around access to the full spectrum of care, access to healthy, affordable food, financial strain, employment, poverty and basic needs, housing, and transportation. And when you submit an application, we will ask you to identify which of these 5 bullets, and you can choose more than one, that your project aims to address. So expanding eligibility, establishing new services, growing existing resources, and also growing administrative capacity. If you are identified as one of the contractors for this work, you will be asked to meet these deliverables here outlined on this page of the overview document. So our team will come and meet with you in the spring of 2025, just to learn how the project is going, determine technical assistance or resource needs. We will ask you to submit a mid-project report in about June of 2025. We will invite all partners who are funded through this opportunity to a regional convening in the summer of 2025. You'll submit a project completion report at the end of next year and make a presentation to our board of directors at the beginning of 2026. And throughout the funding cycle, we will have additional opportunities for learning, convening, and connecting that will make sure that everyone is aware of and all partners are encouraged to participate in those. Eligibility for this funding opportunity is fairly broad. It's organizations, tribes, governmental entities who are in the Olympic region, and that is defined as Clallam, Jefferson, and Kitsap counties. You must be in good financial standing, have presence in the Olympic region, and be an established legal entity. This next section outlines the role of Olympic Community of Health, all of the different ways that we will aim to support contracted partners through this project. And the geographic distribution is the same. It's the 3-county region of Clallam, Jefferson, and Kitsap. And in the application, you'll be asked to outline which communities or counties that you aim to serve through your project. The funding model is what we call an incentive-based model. So we have about $1.5 million set aside, and partners who are issued contracts for this will have an implementation timeline of December of 24 through December of 25. And incentive-based contracts mean that organizations and tribes will receive 3 payments from OCH, one following a fully executed contract, the second, after you complete a full and complete mid-project report and in-person project review, and the final payment will be issued following a full and complete project end report. We expect to issue funding for about 4 to 10 projects. We do not have an explicit funding cap for an application. We ask that partners submit reasonable funding requests that are commensurate with the scope and scale of the project proposed and the estimated number of people who are to be reached. Requests for a large amount of funding over $250,000 will be considered. However, these and really any of the projects may only be partially funded, even if they receive a high score. We are not requiring a budget as part of the application process. The timeline for this funding opportunity is outlined here. So we are at the optional virtual information session now. You have through the day before the applications are due to submit questions to us. Applications are due mid-October, and my team will review those applications the week after they're submitted, and we will notify applicants of their status on October 22nd. We will either let you know that your project is moving forward to the Zoom interview phase, or we will let you know that the project won't be funded at this time. Those who are invited to the next phase will participate in a virtual interview the week of November 4th. We will send a calendar invite out for those about 10 days ahead of time, and those will be 60-minute interviews. And our team will make decisions on November 8th. Our board will take a look at those on November 11th, and we'll start contracting right after that. We expect that contracts will start on December 1st. This next section outlines the scoring and evaluation criteria. So the reviewers will be staff from Olympic Community of Health, and they will sit down with this scoring rubric and your application, and we'll go through bullet by bullet, review the application, and look for how these elements are demonstrated. So collaboration, the budget, scope and scale, rationale and potential impact of the selected project, and equity. And there's a total of 40 points available for the application process. We've also shared with you here the rubric for the interviews that will happen via Zoom the week of November 4th. And you can see very similar elements outlined here, and we will share more about that once we get to the interview phase. As I mentioned, we will consider both application and interview scores, and we will aim to allocate funding throughout the 3-county region to a variety of partner types, and we want to support projects on a variety of top social needs. We will also consider the scale and scope of the project when we make final funding decisions. And again, we anticipate that we will fund between 4 and 10 projects under this funding opportunity. As you are looking for technical assistance during the application process, we of course have this session today. We have our FAQ document that we update regularly throughout the process, and you can email us to ask us questions. We've also outlined some contract requirements just so you have that information ahead of time, and the application process. So all you need to submit to us by October 15th at 5 p.m. is a written application, and that gets submitted via email to connect@olympic.ch.org. And then applications receiving high scores will be invited to the interview, the virtual interview with us. We will provide the questions for the interview a few business days ahead of time, and we've provided the window here. And I did want to point out that there's a companion document that is linked several times throughout the overview document that outlines a regional capacity building plan to expand and enhance access to social care. I'm not going to review this document today, but this really does give you the history, the context, and the background for the problems that we aim to solve, the top social needs in the region, some work that OCH and our partners have been doing to identify how to move forward in addressing social needs. I've also got the FAQ document pulled up here, so you can see that we've already been asked several questions, and we encourage you to take a look at that before submitting a question to us. And then finally, we have the application document, which is just a simple Word document that you'll download from our website, and you'll fill it out. So applicant and project information, tell us about your project area and social need, the geographic area, a high-level overview of the project, and then the rest of the questions greatly align with the scoring rubric that's outlined in the overview and instructions document. So with that, I will take a pause and open it up for your questions. And again, you can raise your virtual hand or you can pop a question into the chat. Hey, Denise, nice to see you.
Nice to see you too, Celeste. Thank you for doing this. I appreciate all this work that you're doing on this. And I have looked over pretty thoroughly all of the documents that you have referenced here, including your background information. So I have a few questions. May I ask 3 questions?
Of course. Yeah, go for it.
Thank you. So because you said earlier, identify which counties, and you that was plural. I'm wondering, does this have to be a regional project? So like, do I have to partner with Kitsap or Clallam or something?
No, you'll see here in the
questions it asks
the
me.
question says to identify cities, towns, or communities.
Okay.
You might have a project that aims to serve a whole county, and that's okay too. Or I know that there are some organizations that serve multiple counties, so you're welcome to talk about that here too. But no, it does not have to be a regional project, and it doesn't even have to be a project for an entire county.
Okay, thank you. And then can I apply for as the same organization with 2 projects? Can
Yes.
I apply twice?
Yes.
Thank you. And will this funding be renewable, or is this one-time funding?
I don't know yet.
Okay. All right. And even though you've said we don't have to submit a budget, can I submit a budget when I answer question number 13 or number 11 in section 3?
Yeah, no, we're not asking for a budget in that question, Denise.
Okay.
For question 11, we just want to know the total amount that you're requesting and just a short narrative for the expected budget. So keep in mind that this is an incentive-based contract. So we will, if you are awarded $30,000, we will issue you 3 $10,000 payments.
All right, great, thank you. 5. Okay, and maybe I misunderstood this at the beginning, but when you said this is the other side of the coin, referring back to the RFA that everybody just submitted for that was due on the 10th, I'm wondering, can we only apply for this one if we've already applied for that other one, or is this completely separate?
These are separate funding opportunities, and you can submit an application under both.
Okay, and then do we send someone to the Community Connect Hub? Like, for instance, if we do apply for this project, we submit a project for this funding stream, and we talk about in our narrative how the hub can support us. Does that commit whoever's doing the work in our agency to being a member of the hub?
What I would say, Denise, is that because you would be enhancing and expanding one or more social needs in the region, we would refer clients and community members to that resource or service, but there isn't a like an official membership.
Okay,
But yes, the intention is that this grows the opportunity for us to have more resources and services to connect community members in need to.
Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you very, very much. Thanks for letting me ask so many questions in a row, everyone.
Thanks, Denise. Hey, Kate, what you got? Where'd you go? You went away.
Sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
If our organization has a couple ideas and we are willing or able to do either of them, would you prefer that we try to pick the one that we think would best meet it? Or would it be good for us to say, hey, here are 3 different projects we could do and let you guys decide which you think is best?
I think to answer a question you didn't ask, if your project proposals are pretty disparate, I would submit 3 separate applications. I think that'll make it easier for our team to review. And try not to, just make like one really long application that has a lot of kind of different ideas in them.
I guess my thing is I don't want like necessarily like you're saying that we want this to go out to a broad number of groups, right? You want to have spread this money out, and I don't want necessarily to say, hey, we're asking you to fund all 3 projects. Like, so I didn't know if you wanted to just say, hey, limit yourself, just give us one idea, or if we can give you multiple ideas and let you guys, run with it.
You are more than welcome to submit more than one application. I didn't think this last week, but because of the high volume of applications we received for the last opportunity, I do expect this to be fairly competitive. So yeah, there's nothing that would stop you from I would also say, the more collaboration, because this is going to be so competitive, I think the more that if you can join forces with other partners, the better.
Yep. Thank you.
You're welcome. And I see there's a question in the chat about the form. So Bonnie is asking if we can provide a fillable PDF or a Google Doc. Bonnie, if you want to submit an email to connect@olympicch.org, we will email you the Word document, but we have tried fillable PDFs in the past and Google Docs in the past, and those did not work for most of our partners. So just send us an email and we can email you the Word document. Other questions? I know you've got them, otherwise you wouldn't have signed up. Hey, Kelly.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, nice to see you.
Yeah, you as well. So just kind of some clarifications.
Yeah.
And maybe it's just broad, but when we're looking at housing, there's a number of things within that housing strand. So I'm curious if you can expand on what that means a little bit. Is that supportive rental assistance? Is that move-in? Is that security deposits for folks that may need that? Question 1, and I'll jump on Denise's train with a couple of questions if I can. The other one is just around employment and or workforce. Like just curious if that's workforce career pathway development for people, or kind of what is workforce and employment? Are they different? Are they the same? Can you speak to those?
Yeah, so we aren't putting any restraints on these. So what we say here about the housing social need is, we want it to be inclusive. So supportive housing, transitional housing, respite, workforce housing, and just sort of general high quality, affordable housing for all. Wouldn't that be a lovely, could we accomplish that? That would be lovely. So we aren't putting any restrictions on exactly what that looks like. I mean, I think I would point you back to this context document that outlines some of the background and history. And there is a question in the application that, asks you to connect your project back to this document. So we aren't putting any restraints in terms of the things you laid out, like deposits or those types of things. But I will say that sustainability of this work is one of the key elements of our scoring rubric. So I would keep that in mind as you're thinking it through. And then your second question was, I'm sorry, say your second question again. I
I
apologize.
think the second question was just around the employment, like in the housing, it talks about workforce, and I get that that now is like housing for workforce, but then in the second one, it's about employment. Is that supporting people to gain employment, be able to maintain their employment? D, all of the above, I'm guessing is what your answer might be.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
And again,
All right,
I if you haven't already taken a look at this document, I would encourage you to.
Yeah, perfect. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Looks like there's another question in the chat. Is OCH prioritizing projects that serve particular populations, et cetera, et cetera? We are asking you in the application document to tell us about the an overall rationale and justification for the project. We are also asking you to tell us who will be served by the project and about how many people will be served. But the overview and instructions document does not outline a particular subpopulation group. Kim, let me know if that doesn't answer your question.
Thanks, Celeste. I think it does. I was just curious if when you're doing your scoring that you'll be giving any additional weight for programs that are trying to serve populations that are not well served by other programs and entities. As you well know, it's difficult to serve folks that other entities deem, quote, difficult to serve. Just wondering if there's any extra points given to people that are making that attempt.
I've got the scoring rubric pulled up here on the screen, and so you can see that there's what you're outlining is not part of the scoring rubric.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Stephanie.
Oop. Hi.
Oh, okay.
You mentioned
you went away.
you mentioned joining hands with other partners. When we're filling out the application, if there is multiple of us, do you want us to put an application filled out by and then list the couple agencies if we're working on it together?
Yeah,
or where should we put that?
It's right here. Question number 4 asks you to outline any partnering organizations or tribes if applicable.
Okay, and if there's multiple of us working on this to make sure that our sections are complete, do you just want one name for the lead applicant contact information?
Yeah, we will only contract with just one organization, and if you have partners that you're going to fund through it, then whoever is the lead applicant would handle that.
Okay, thank you.
Does that answer
Yes.
your question? Okay, I want to make
Yeah.
sure I understood it. Dan is asking, we are trying to determine if our services align with this funding opportunity. We provide technologies that support independent living at home, such as personal emergency response systems, fall detection, and medication reminders. Would these services fall under the access to full spectrum of care? Let me pull back up the funding opportunity. I think when we talk about access to care, Dan, what we say here is primary care, dental, specialty care, substance use disorder treatment, and mental health treatment. So without knowing more about your work or your project, it's hard for me to say, but it doesn't quite sound like it. Hi, Anton.
I was going to type it in, but I guess I can.
Yeah, please do.
So in past funding opportunities, have you ever worked with or awarded any grants to kind of more grassroots community outreach, mutual aid groups, or have they all been more traditional organizations with, so my group, Northwest Hospitality, we're all volunteer run. We don't have staff. We don't have any of that structure. And so I'm wondering what I can do to make our application as competitive as possible, given those probably differences from the usual applications.
Are you an actual legal entity?
Oh yeah.
You have a taxpayer ID number and a UEI number and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, then you are eligible.
Okay. Have you worked with organizations that don't employ staff in the past?
I can't think of any offhand. We want to know how you're going to get the work done if you don't have staff. And so there are some questions about the roles and responsibilities of the project partner. So I would just make sure that you're clear about that.
Yep. Yeah, we're a fully volunteer-based, community-run organization. We've worked with a bunch of the organizations here in the list. I like to see a lot of familiar names, but yeah, we work through volunteers, and we directly address a lot of the needs in the list there. So yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
That sounds great. Thanks for joining us today. Hi, Morgan.
Hi. I was wondering, will you just talk more about this grant in the sense of, you said it's the other side of the coin. Like if you were meeting somebody and just informally talking about these two funding opportunities, we pulled them up side by side as an organization and we read through them, but you're reading through your own lens, right? And so I would love to hear what you mean by it's the other side of the coin. Could you talk more about that?
Yeah, so the care coordination partner funding opportunity that we released in August,
Yes.
just pulling up our funding opportunity page here. This was about identifying who the partners are who will provide the case management services. So working with the client, working with them to set goals, do motivational interviewing, determine what their needs are, and support them in navigating the services and resources. This one that we're talking about today is ensuring that when we connect clients to resources and services, that there are enough services and resources to actually get their need met, right? We know that it's frustrating to all of us, but I think it's particularly frustrating to providers and to community-based workers when we know somebody has a need, but there isn't, a service or resource that's available to support them.
So I'm trying to think, this feels very in line with what Olympic Angels does, but I'm just wondering how to position the grant. When we looked at these side by side, we decided to go to access to social care because what we do is engage volunteers to surround kids who are going through the foster care system. And they touch all of these aspects that you're trying to touch, the transportation and medical health and access to healthy food. All of these things are enhanced when we get a love box or a mentorship around the kid. But the main way we do that is through case managers, and that's the primary driver for all of our expenses. And so we didn't go for the RFP, the initial one, and I'm wondering if this is still a good fit for the kinds of services that we provide.
So when you have your clients who need a resource or service, you're sending them externally to, whatever community-based resources that exist now.
When we have a kid in the let's just use a kid in the foster care system. We learn about a kid, maybe Kelly refers a kid, right? And then we go and we meet with that kid and we learn all about their story and where they are. And we match them with a volunteer in the community who directly gives to that kid, who directly walks alongside. And our organization supports that volunteer to do that core work of supporting that kid. We also do it with teams around an entire family that's fostering. So we go and engage a team of community members to walk alongside a given family unit for a minimum of a year, but oftentimes multi-year. And then we track what goes from that team to that family, but none of it passes through our organization, right? We're the ones that facilitate it, we support it, but it's something that we are just getting the community to fill in all the gaps versus us hiring a bunch of case managers and the case managers going out and doing all of that work. So when we read through these two organizations, we were like, this expand and enhance access to social care feels like fundamentally what this is. When we read through the two, and I'm wondering if we read that correctly.
I'm honestly not sure. Based on what you're describing, it sounds a little bit more like it was the care coordination partner funding opportunity that probably would have matched a little closely with what you're doing now. This is, for example, if like let's take a food bank or a farmer's market or something, just because I think for whatever reason, food seems like the easiest of these social needs.
Yeah.
Like if you were a food bank and you recognize that, you have more interest than you have the ability to provide food to people. Like one idea here is that a food bank would say, okay, we need X amount of dollars so that we can grow how much food we have available to provide to people. So it's growing the actual resource or service, not the case management or care.
We can take more families off our wait list and expand those services with additional funds.
No, that was the opportunity that closed last week.
Do you feel as though we should still go for this? Or is this feeling like, and how would I explore that without taking everyone else's time? Because it feels like a really good fit in that all the things you're trying to achieve are all the things that I feel like we affect with community members, not with case managers that we hire and pay for. The case managers make it happen for the community. How do I?
Yeah, I encourage you to read this context document that I have.
Yeah. I mean, we have as a whole team, and we were like, this is exactly what we affect.
Yeah. If you wanted to provide like maybe like a quick overview of what you're thinking you might propose to us in an application via email, we'd be happy to take a look at it and let you know.
Okay. All right. I will do that. That's what I'll do as the next step.
Okay.
Thanks for everybody for letting me take all that time.
Thanks, Morgan. Okay, a question from Bonnie. I'm sorry if does this funding cover staff overhead or just project expenses? We didn't. The funding opportunity does not outline allowable expenses. This is a incentive-based contract. So we will ask you in the application to provide a budget narrative so that we have an idea of the kinds of expenses that you're looking at making, but we don't have, and nor are we providing a list of allowable or disallowable expenses. So really, just there's no limits. There's a question from Annika about ranges. This paragraph here, Annika, might be the one for you to take a look at. We expect to award 4 to 10 projects. We have about $1.5 million available to us to spend. And we are accepting applications for larger funding amounts. And everything is going to be based on the scoring and evaluation.
So is the only way to ask questions through the chat?
No.
Okay. I'm raising my hand.
Okay. Hi, Julia.
Hi, I run the Winter Welcoming Center, which is a day drop-in center for the unsheltered. That operates 4 to 5 months out of the year and possibly longer, because I believe Jefferson County will lose its shelter within the next 12 months. And we provide single serving food to the unsheltered and the sheltered. We're open. We're called the Winter Welcoming Center. We're open to whoever walks in. They can get food, and they can get clothing, and they can get references, and they can use our Wi-Fi and electricity, etc. We have shower vouchers and laundry tokens and a range of stuff. Are you an appropriate place for us to apply to help pay for the food that we're distributing?
So access to healthy, affordable food is one of the social needs. I would, similarly to, I forget whose question earlier, in the application, I think there's about 10 points that are allocated about sustainability. So we would want to make sure that you had a path to sustainability beyond the project timeline. So we are less interested in funding things that are only going to last during this funding cycle, but looking at more systemic change for projects that will have a sustainability path that could last beyond this funding cycle.
This is our 7th year.
It's more about how it, so if we provided you funding for the food for a year, we'd want to know how you plan on meeting that, continuing to meet that need after the year.
Okay.
So this is less about, sustainability is a really important part of this to us. And we're looking at more of how can we change systems so that down the road in the future, you have paths to secure sustainable funding.
Okay. I'm not the grant writer with the organization, so I don't know how to answer this, but
no, that's okay.
But yeah, I mean, this is our 7th year. We've been sustainable so far. We will continue to be as sustainable as we are now. And some of it is that I'm constantly looking for new sources of funding for us. There is no stable funding for a day drop-in center for the unsheltered that I am aware of.
Okay. Yeah, I just think look at the scoring rubric, because I do think this is going to be pretty competitive, Julia. So. Okay, Emily is asking about the incentive payment model. So, so if you're awarded a contract, Emily, and I'll just use the $30,000 contract just because it's really easy math. So if you were to receive a $30,000 contract from us, you would receive 3 payments from us. So once we have an executed contract, you would earn your first $10,000. Once you submit a full and complete mid-project report, we would issue you a check for the next $10,000. And then the final payment for $10,000 would follow a full and complete project end report. And if you want to take yourself off mute and ask any clarifying questions, I'm happy to respond.
Yes, we were just wondering about the just the rubric exactly. Is that just like what we propose if we've met those measures and to that, or is it something we kind of agree on? Or
so I think you're confusing the application scoring rubric with how we will make contract payments. The scoring rubric is how we will make decisions about who we award contracts to, and the payments are post-contract.
Okay. Thank you. That helps a lot.
Okay, sure. Glad to hear that. It's the Winter Welcoming Center, Kim.
I did have a question about your incentive payment scheme with the 3 payments. Seeing how that 3rd payment is basically the 13th month, so it's after the full year. So would it be advisable to calculate what you need to fit into the first 2 payments, and then the 3rd one's like the transitional payment or something?
Your the contract award amount will be divided by 3, and you'll be issued 3 equal payments.
Yeah.
Right. Thanks. So meaning you can't wait it at the beginning. Yeah.
Thanks, Denise. Other questions?
Yeah, just a clarification regarding the payment schemes again. So you would have to, you would not be allowed to incur expenditures after December 2025. So you would have to encumber those expenses before 2025, and then that last payment could cover those. Is that effectively what you're saying in the scheme?
We won't ask you to submit any invoicing or charting of accounts. We will simply take your award, divide it by 3, and issue 3 separate payments. Like how you allocate those dollars is up to you.
Yes, so you would have to encumber those expenses prior to.
Yeah, got it. Thank you very much.
Well, I'm happy to stay on the line until 4:30 if others have questions. Otherwise, we will wrap up this session today. And again, please email us at connect@olympic.ch if you have additional questions. And the link to today's recording and responses to all of the questions will be on our frequently asked questions document by the end of Thursday.
Thank you very much.
Take care, everyone. Have a good day.